Menacing surroundings, unexplained crimes, strange occurrences. Have you ever heard of a place so mysterious, for some reason you just had to see it for yourself? Even if you know you shouldn't? Even if it's creepy or potentially deadly, like the Bennington Triangle, Area 51, or certain forests around the world where people simply go missing? Well, we have a destination like that for you today. The Bennington Triangle in Vermont is shrouded in mystery. But why? What makes this place so special? Let's talk about it. Over the years, this area has had a mix of unexplained activity. The ominous Glastonbury Mountain within the Bennington Triangle sits near an all-but-abandoned logging ghost town. This area has seen its share of murders, UFO sightings, ancient legends of man-eating stones, Bigfoot-like creatures, Wendigo sightings, and a string of mysterious disappearances. There's something going on here, so today we're going to look into it. Due to the disturbing lack of wildlife, or life in general, in the area immediately surrounding Glastonbury Mountain, people maintained the land itself was evil. The eerily unsettling aura permeating the forest was so menacing, in fact, that the local tribes avoided it altogether, in fear of the malevolent spirits they believed to reside there. Another local legend describes a man-eating stone. Basically, if you stand on it, you vanish. Due to the myriad sinkholes to be found all over the area, there may actually be an explanation for this one. Over the years, people have simply vanished from the area. This first weird, silent abduction occurred in 1943. The man's name was Carol Herrick. Herrick went missing during a hunting trip with his brother Henry. As both were experienced hunters, this certainly wasn't their first trip to the forest. The two were separated, however, so Henry raised the alarm understandably when he realized Carol was missing. Now, the really weird part is that Carol's body was found 3 days later near his gun, which had not been discharged. Surrounding his body were huge, mysterious footprints. His body had sustained multiple injuries, including punctured lungs. He reportedly had been squeezed to death. This would rule out death by bear or mountain lion. Was Herrick's death caused by a Bigfoot-like creature, or perhaps by another entity altogether, such as the Native American legend known as the Wendigo? The Wendigo, a large and elusive creature, has been seen by many, but never caught. There are only a few images of alleged sightings with some footprints found in the mud. However, online you will find many stories of near misses with this large beast. Over the last 200 years, there have been hunting expeditions to find the creature, which is said to be covered in hair and to stand over 8 feet tall. Folklore also suggests that the creature's very presence itself serves as a portent of impending doom. Most reports occur late at night, typically before a tragedy such as a road accident. People have reported being awakened in the middle of the night by a loud banging on the doors of their camping trailers, presumably by some mysterious creature. Just recently, in 2003, Ray Dufresne was traveling along Route 7 when he saw a large, hairy creature striding through the woods. Other people in town had similar stories. Was this a real-life Wendigo, a Bigfoot-like creature, or simply a college football player in a gorilla suit playing a practical joke? A couple of years after the hunter, Carol Herrick, was killed, there was another mysterious occurrence. It was 1945, and 74-year-old Mitty Rivers, a local hunting guide, went missing. Like Herrick, he was quite familiar with the terrain, so it would have been out of the ordinary for him to get lost in the woods. In fact, Rivers had been leading a group of 4 other hunters in a place called Hell Hollow, around Glastonbury, when he got ahead of them. When the group returned to the camp, they realized that Rivers wasn't among them. Aware of both his skill as a woodsman and his keen navigation, the others were unconcerned at first. But after a significant length of time had elapsed, and still no sign of Rivers, a full-blown search party was mounted. 300 locals and U.S. Army soldiers combed the area for 8 days. But the only thing they found was a rifle cartridge that matched Rivers' weapon. Rivers' body was never found. 1 year later, on December 1st, 1946, 18-year-old college student Paula Weldon went hiking. Several witnesses, including an elderly couple who were hiking not far behind her, reported seeing her set off wearing a red coat. However, when young Paula failed to show up for classes the next day, people began to worry. Yet another extensive search was conducted, including more than 1,000 volunteers, aircraft surveillance, and the FBI. A $5,000 reward was posted for information leading to her return. The elderly couple who had seen her said that it seemed she disappeared after she turned a corner on the trail. Despite the massive search, no clues were ever found, and her remains were never recovered. She had simply vanished. Exactly 3 years after Paula's disappearance, James Tedford went missing on December 1st, 1949. Tedford had been visiting relatives out of town and returned home on a bus when he vanished. According to witnesses, Weldon was one of 14 passengers on the bus at the last stop before arriving in Bennington. But when the bus had reached its destination, James Tedford was gone. His belongings were still in the luggage rack, and an open bus timetable was on his vacant seat. No one had seen him get off the bus, and he did not disembark in Bennington. The incident was investigated, but as in the previous cases, no trace was left behind. Again, the following year, an 8-year-old boy named Paul Jepson disappeared while playing. His mother had stopped to feed the family pigs, and he was left to play near the truck, wearing a red coat. When his mother came back within 30 minutes, he was gone. A search party was formed, and bloodhounds were brought in to aid the desperate hunt for the boy. The bloodhounds did manage to pick up the boy's scent. It led them toward Glastonbury Mountain, but it was lost again at a nearby crossroads. While some suggested an abduction by a passing motorist, Paul's father mentioned that the boy had been talking about visiting the mountains, but no evidence of where he'd gone was found, and no remains were ever recovered. And it didn't end there. Just 16 days later, Frida Langer went missing on a camping trip with her family near Glastonbury Mountain. The 53-year-old and her cousin, Herbert Elsner, left their family campsite near the Somerset Reservoir to go hiking together. Along their way, Frida slipped and fell into a stream, soaking herself from head to toe. She asked her cousin to wait for her while she went back and changed into some dry clothes. After Elsner waited for a while and Frida still hadn't returned, he decided to head back to the camp to see if everything was okay. He was met with anyone's worst fear. Frida apparently had never made it back to the camp. Somewhere along the way, she'd simply disappeared in broad daylight. Several search parties made up of 400 people, including police, volunteers, firefighters, soldiers, aircraft surveillance, all searched for her for weeks and turned up nothing. Eventually, everyone just gave up looking. Then, a staggering 7 months later, her body was found near Somerset Reservoir. This was an area that had previously been extensively searched. However, due to the severe decomposition of the body, no cause of death could be determined. The case remains unsolved. Langer was the last in the string of disappearances and the only one aside from Herrick whose body was ever found. It's notable that there are strange similarities in some of these cases. One being that some of the victims were wearing the color red, and there seems to be a significant pattern in the timing of each of the mysterious disappearances. Both the time of day and time of year are roughly the same in each case. All of the vanishings occurred between 3 and 4 p.m., and always occurred during the last few months of the year. The theme of red is still present. More recently, in 2019, a young New York woman by the name of Jessica Hildenbrandt was found murdered in the Somerset Reserve area. The police have no leads regarding who her attacker may have been. Oddly, Jessica was known by friends and family as Red. Again, in the Somerset Reserve in 2021, Joseph Schoenig was found in a red truck with self-inflicted gunshot wounds. Some speculate that the disappearances which occurred during the 1940s and 1950s were the work of a serial killer, while others believe something even more sinister, even supernatural, was at work. It's hard to overlook the strange fact that almost all of the victims vanished near the ghost town of Glastonbury. Ghost town, indeed. Even if you visit the area today and walk through the forest, you'll come across a number of man-made rock formations, which in and of itself is unsettling because who made them and why? And this area is also known to have unusual weather patterns, including insane winds which have caused the trees to grow at odd angles and twisted shapes. Could this be part of the reason why so many have mysteriously vanished without a trace? Who knows? But the real question is, will you plan a hike along the trails of Glastonbury Mountain in the Bennington Triangle? Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.